Hello and welcome to the Warhammer Podcast, episode 31. I'm your host, Brad. This is my co-host, Eric.
How's it going?
And we've got a fun little episode for you guys this week as we continue testing first-time episode types.
And I think this one might actually be little.
Yeah.
See how we work.
Maybe it won't be a surprise half-hour/hour/longer recording session.
Yeah.
I may have gone a bit too far in some places last week.
Maybe just a little bit. But this one's a bit more focused of a topic.
Yes, and you're leading the discussion on this one. We're going to do what in Magic we would have as a single card discussion, but we're going to do a single data sheet discussion for Warhammer.
Yeah.
All right, let's jump into this.
Sounds good. I think we can objectively say that orcs have some of the best models.
In looks, yes. In rules, less so.
Sure. Yeah. But, they look really cool.
Every orc release from the trucks forward, the Speed Freaks release.
Yeah.
Those and then all of the ones from this edition are fantastic looking.
Yeah.
And my favorite looking model in the orc line is still the Kommandos.
Yeah. And the Kommandos are really cool. They looked cool. There's a lot you can do with them. And the actual rules are very interesting. So today's topic is Kommandos.
So let's start things off with a quick read of their stat line.
Yeah, so they've got 6-inch move. They've got a 3-up weapon skill, 5-up ballistic skill. Their strength is 4. The boss knob is 5. Toughness 5. Wounds 1. Bosses 2. Attacks 2. Bosses 3. Leadership 6. God, orcs leadership are so bad. The boss is 7. And they've got a 6-up save.
Nice.
Yeah. They've got a lot of options for weapon loadouts. Because you got to have your options for shootas and choppas and all that good stuff.
Well, it's that it was a kill team release.
Yeah.
And all of the kill team releases have a, here's 10 models, each one gets a unique loadout.
Right. And Kommandos are elites, so it makes sense that they get cool things, essentially. But they come with the Slugga and the Choppa. So Slugga is just a pistol 1, 12-inch, 401. Choppa is melee, user, -1/1. And each time there fights, it makes an additional attack.
Which, again, the standard stat line we expect out of orcs.
Yep.
They also have their 100 options, but let's not take the time to read those.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them. They've got rockets, and they've got burnas, and, stuff.
It looks like a tactical squad option list.
Basically. So for every 10 models, you can change out some other stuff, but more importantly, you also get the option of having a bomb squig and a distraction grot.
Which are hilarious.
And these are actually pretty cool. So the bomb squig is once per turn when a unit with a bomb squig is selected to shoot or fire Overwatch. If it has any bomb squids remaining, unit can release one. When it does so, you select an enemy unit, not aircraft. Can't throw them, I guess. That is within 12 inches of the unit of a bomb squig. And roll 1d6, adding 1 to the result if it's a vehicle. On a 3-up, that enemy unit suffers d3 mortals. The number of bomb squigs in the unit is reduced by 1. So you basically just throw a squig with a bomb on it at your opponent. Really, actually cool. Not super amazing, but fun. And the distraction grot is once per battle when the bearer is selected to fight. You can treat models in this unit as if they are within 1 inch of a terrain feature. And that actually does matter because Kommandos have some really neat abilities. They've got abilities like Throat Slittas. Each time a model in this unit makes a melee attack, if it's within 1 inch of a terrain feature, add 1 to that attack's wound roll. So there's some synergies going on there.
More importantly, that 6-up save gets improved by Sneaky Gitz.
Yeah, Sneaky Gitz is allowing Kommandos to not just immediately go away. Each time an attack is allocated to a model in this unit while it is receiving the benefits of cover, add an additional 2 to any armor saving throw made against that attack.
And all of this that we've talked about means next to nothing compared to their final ability, which is why everyone loves Kommandos.
We're here for the Cunning infiltrators, which is during deployment. When you set up this unit, it can be set up anywhere on the battlefield that is more than 9 inches away from the enemy deployment zone and any enemy models. So, one of the strongest things you can do in Warhammer is get around deployment rules.
Yes, forward deploy,
Redeploys,
pre-game moves.
yeah, all of that is exceptionally strong just because the first turn is oftentimes the biggest, where you can either blow somebody off the field, or if you lose the die roll that you were expecting to go a different way, you can be in some serious trouble.
And when you forward deploy, you get to have initial claim on midfield objectives in most game setups. And you're adding a bubble wrap for your army. Your opponent can't turn one alpha strike things that you set up on the line if they have to get around your commandos that are sitting on midboard.
Exactly. And if they don't do anything with the commandos can actually rack up a bunch of points. They can be a problem. So I guess since we'll talk about that, there is a secondary objective that works extremely well, and that's get the good bits. And that's basically any of the no man's land objectives. You can do an action and get victory points. So you can forward deploy with your Cunning infiltrator onto your objectives, do the actions, get your points. It's all kind of coming together.
Yeah, and they also have 100 different strats that they work with as being your orc infantry core, all of the different checkboxes you want to be.
Yeah, it's one of those that there actually are a lot of different strategies or stratagems that you get choosing, but a lot of them are tied to
special weapons or other things that you can give them.
Or the clan. Yeah.
Yeah.
So a pretty common clan choice is blood axes because it gives you the strong stratagem of surprise. And yes, there is an exclamation point. So this one is use the stratagem at the start of the fight phase, select one blood axes commandos unit that is wholly within an area terrain feature until the end of the phase. When an enemy unit is within engagement range of this unit, that enemy cannot make use of any rules that allow it to fight first and never counts as having made a charge move this turn, irrespective of any abilities that unit may have. And each time an attack is made against that unit, subtract 1 from that attack's hit roll. Basically, it means that you can set up a roadblock that's actually pretty difficult to get through in the middle of the board if the terrain's set up correctly. It's rather difficult to actually get rid of a unit of 10 commandos that are set up strategically in the middle of the board with the terrain, with the options of having surprise stratagem. It's just really annoying to turn off all, fight firsts, charges, that kind of stuff, while also having a solid save because they get their bonus from sneaky gitz.
They also have the added bonus of just being generally good action monkeys.
Oh, yeah.
Between them and Storm Boys is the other option. Orcs have a huge amount of infantry units that are either advanced deployed or can drop down out of deep strike anywhere.
Right.
Do an action, die, and not care.
Yeah.
Because all of these models, like commandos, we haven't talked about it, are 11 points a model.
Right.
This is not much to be wasting if you're going to use, let's say 2 sets of commandos to get an action done out of each, get blown up by a unit to protect them going after something else after having achieved some victory points. Solid trade for 11 points a model unit.
Yeah, and I think that's one of those things that, because they synergize so well with the get the good bits secondary, and because they are so cheap, it works out really well as distractions, essentially, for your opponent, where it's, if you don't actually deal with the commandos, they're going to do useful things to winning the game for the orc player. But at the same time, if you decide to go off and deal with the commandos, you're committing resources to killing these 11-point models. It is kind of an annoying thing that the commandos are doing, and it works pretty well with boss Snikrot because he's also got Cunning infiltrators. I guess Cunning infiltrator since he's by himself, which lets him deploy wherever he needs to. And he's also got the throat slitta, which gives the terrain feature stuff. He's also got the red skull Commandos aura, which is while a friendly Blood Axis Commandos unit is within 6 inches of the model, each time a model in that unit makes a melee attack, add 1 to that attack's hit roll. So obviously this is with the Blood Axes.
Man, they hit on 2s with him?
Yeah.
That's pretty sweet, actually.
Yeah. He actually works really well for a 95-point model. Like, he himself is fine. Like, he's not anything special because he just has a normal... He's got teeth.
I know, like, orcs, you always want to play against orcs because they're so fun. But
Yeah.
I now really want to play against an orcs build where you have the commandos, but you don't just min load out them. You go for, like, all the melee options on.
Yeah. Get the big chopper, use the breacher ram.
Yeah. And play like 2 sets of 10 with like all melee options, and then Snikrot buffing those 2 units. And you actually have a pretty scary forward deployed force.
Yeah, and it's cheap.
Yeah, that's actually sick.
It is actually pretty cool. And like, Blood Axe is a legitimate clan for other reasons as well. So it's not like you're just like, oh, I'm all in on the commandos, even though I'm only using 400 points worth of commandos and boss Snikrot. So like, Blood Axes does give you other stuff as well, which is neat.
Yeah, Blood Axes I think is like probably second most common right now in my brain, unless I'm mistaken. It's like you have Goffs for a Goff pressure list, and then Blood Axes is usually the redeploy one.
Yeah, Freebooters is...
Freebooters is dead. They FAQ'd poor Freebooters out of existence.
Yeah, I think there's still some people trying to make it work, but yeah. Yeah, I mean, Blood Axes is just a solid option. So it's not like we're really losing anything by taking advantage of Blood Axes in Commandos.
No, and like Blood Axes still works well if you want to play like Storm Boy heavy and everything else. Like, just play a really mobile, like actually tactical orcs. I know that's their whole thing, but it's like the morkiest list.
It is. And I mean, that's kind of why I love Commandos, is because they allow a lot of strategic options. You know what I mean? It's one of those where it's like, you're always feeling like you're big brain playing it because you're like, ooh, I'm going to do this because they're going to do that.
I'm playing orcs, but I'm doing something smart. The opponent will never suspect.
Exactly. And I kind of love that. It's just pretty fun.
Yeah, because like they're still totally fine just in Goffs. Like,
yeah,
the Goff ability works perfect on them. The Goff stratagem works fine for them.
Yeah, and I mean, that's one of the things is like, I feel like there's always a useful reason to having a group of 10 commandos in any list of orcs, because they're cheap, they allow for a lot of flexibility, and yeah, if you're running Goffs, there's still a lot of work that can be done with it, because you get the tank buster bombs, I think? Let me see.
Yeah, they're a tank buster unit.
Yeah, so, I mean, even you get like the tank buster bombs, which just like wrecks vehicles for like 1 CP. Come on, dude. Like, I don't know. It's just one of those that there's a lot of play experience that can be done with it, and there's a lot of fun to be had with trying to move them around and take advantage of terrain features, take advantage of being cheap units that are screening your opponents from hitting other more point-heavy models in your list.
I do question, when you're playing this in like just generically in Goffs, you're not like going ham with Skitrod or anything else.
Sure.
You're playing in a Goffs list, you're just playing commandos. Do you just go like 2 or 3 5-man squads just so that you just have the bare minimum of putting something out ahead of everything, taking those midpoints and making your opponent work for it at first, so you've got that first layer before you start doing the trades at midboard?
So I've seen people running those. I don't think so.
Is it because they're 1 wound models?
Yeah.
And they only have a 4-up save, so they don't sit as well as something else?
They just pop. Yeah. And like, they're still an elite slot, right? Like, so it's one of those, like, I think you take like 2 groups of 10, make it so that they have to commit stuff to actually getting rid of them.
Yeah, you can't just pot shot 10 of them off the board, but you probably could with 5.
Exactly. And at the same time, like, if they don't, 10 commandos can actually do some damage if they like just ignore them and move somewhere else. Like, they can run in and charge and hit backline stuff if it's given the opportunity, especially if you use your WA at the right times. Like, that's another thing that's huge with having this forward deploy stuff, is you get to set up more time for your WA to be the most efficient. you don't have to worry about wasting a turn 1 to get your invuln type stuff with the new LiQWYD if you're able to just burn the commandos as like the stopping block and then really go all out in turn 2.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's one of those that, like, there is something to be said about just having a 5-man squad that just sits out there and you're like, okay, yeah, easy. I get some action points, like, good enough because I had some extra points or whatever. But I do think the commandos work the best and really show off what they're able to do by having a strong unit of 10 or so with, you don't have to go crazy on their loadouts, but I'm a big proponent of the Distraction Grot. I think the Bomb Squid is cool. I haven't entirely decided how worth it is. But like you just give it some loadouts, not make it too expensive, and make your opponent work for getting through the mid board.
All right, so I think that's a good quick look at the Ork Kommandos unit.
Yeah, I mean, orcs have always been really cool, and the Elite Commandos, they live up to their name, man.
But that's enough for this episode. Let's not stretch this out anymore. Let's call it good here and get out of here for the week.
Sounds good.